Wrestlebread podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee here, and this is episode 95 of the Wrestlebread podcast. I can't believe that we are 5 episodes away from episode 100, and it has been a blast these past 95 episodes. Now, you may hear a little bit of background noise because people have decided to ride dirt bikes tonight for some reason, but, who knows. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Tomorrow it's going to be a nor'easter, aka a winter snowstorm. So it's going to be in like the teens or in the 20s as far as temperature wise, with a wind gust of like 20 miles per hour. So it's going to feel even colder than that. And my heating bill is too damn high now because of these winters. I am happy that it hasn't been too cold. Now, there was like 4 years ago, when the winter, it got so cold here in Philly that the water in the water pipes in the streets were freezing. That's how cold it was. It was like a high of like 6 degrees or something like that, and with the wind chill, it was negative, so everyone's water pipes were freezing. It was ridiculous. But I am happy that we don't have to deal with that right now, but still we gotta deal with the cold temperatures and stuff like that. Wrestling wise this week, you would think that WWE would kind of go all out for one of the big 4 pay-per-views, and we have seen time and time again that, it just kind of gets thrown together. It really does. AEW wasn't really too much better. NXT was pretty good. But, it is what it is. I come to accept that WWE is just, they just throw it together. People will still watch type of situation. And that is that. So getting into some news, I'm sure everyone has heard that the WWE Network is now coming to NBC's Peacock, and it's only going to be for $5.99 instead of $9.99. So instead of us paying for just the WWE Network, we'll be also getting to see a lot of the other shows that's on NBC as well. I'm not really a big, I really shouldn't say a big TV watching person. I don't have cable, but I do watch stuff on streams, so like Hulu, Disney Plus, not so much Netflix, but I did find this app called Pluto TV, but it's not really live TV like that. I mean, you're just mainly watching a bunch of reruns of stuff, but like I said, I don't really watch that much TV, so it has been keeping me, I've been, entertained this whole time. So it'll be really cool to kind of see what else I can check out as far as what's going to be on NBC Peacock. But the funniest thing now is for all those damn people, whenever WWE does something to piss them off or whatever, you can't sit there and say you're canceling the network. So I'm very curious as to see what people are going to complain about now. Because you can't cancel the network. I mean, you cancel the network, you're canceling a whole other app. And you're getting it for cheaper. It's going to be $5.99. So you're not even wasting $10. $5.99, that's like a meal at McDonald's or something like that. So you're not really wasting much money, first off, and you're getting a lot more than you would with just simply the WWE Network. So I wonder what people are going to do now. You're going to say cancel NBC Peacock, hashtag cancel NBC Peacock, since you can't do, cancel WWE Network. But like I always say, the same people sit there and say they're going to cancel the network and then, just go on Twitter just so that they can let everyone know that they're canceling the network, are normally the same people who tune in next week just to complain about it again. Let's see. Santos Escobar, I believe that's who it was, had mentioned that his next goal is to talk to Vince McMahon one day. And some people are slightly surprised that, obviously if he wants to talk to Vince McMahon, obviously Vince McMahon doesn't really go to the either the NXT, backstage or have any dealings with NXT. I mean, who's really surprised? We can clearly tell he doesn't really watch NXT, or else he would know a lot of the talent that he has sitting on his current roster. I mean, how many times we've seen over and over again of people being called up from NXT only for them to kind of be a shell of what they used to be. Also, there's a new TV show coming on February 16th. I think it's on NBC. It's called Young Rock. I saw the trailer for it. So it's a show about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson when he was younger. So it seems to be 3 different timelines: when he was 10 years old, when he was in high school, and then when he was in college. And it looks like in this show, the grown-up Rock is running for president in 2032. So I don't know if that is a hint or something like that. But you see him sit down. So basically the trailer is you see him sit down for an interview and he decides to tell his life story. And it kind of gives me an Everybody Hates Chris type of vibes. I don't know how funny it would be because they showed like some type of jokes that the 10-year-old will say, and it really wasn't like ha ha ha, like slap your knee type of funny. It was like a slight giggle, a slight giggle. And so of course it features his parents, so it's a lookalike Rocky Johnson and a lookalike of his mom. And you'll see, because he comes from a wrestling family, you'll see a bunch of lookalikes for different wrestlers. So there was a lookalike for Andre the Giant. Who else? I think a lookalike for the Wild Samoans in there as well. It's interesting. Would I check it out? I might check out like the first few episodes to get a feel of the show and then go from there. I really don't see myself sitting down and checking it out live every week, but I don't know. Also, for AEW news, we got Rio, who is coming back finally. So I'm happy for her, and I am happy because she's very popular with the fans. So she is coming back to go into the tournament for the number 1 contender for the AEW Women's Championship. I think she is going against Serena in that tournament. I'm not 100% sure if the graphic was showing them going against each other or just showing that they would be in the tournament. I'm hoping that, AEW would put a lot more into this women's tournament than they did their last women's tournament. Because when it came to that tag team tournament, it was pretty, it wasn't even all good, really. It was on AEW, it was on AEW Dark on YouTube, and it really didn't carry much over onto AEW Dynamite. This week, I really didn't get a chance to really watch all of wrestling, so when I go through my highlights, it'll be hopping kind of through the show, just to give everyone a heads up. But AEW had their awards, which I completely forgot about, so I had to read up on the winners. But of course I heard about the biggest thing that happened during the awards, which was Shaq challenging Cody Rhodes. Of course, we saw this coming ever since Jaydee came on the scene and mentioned Shaq, because I thought she was talking about somebody else and not the actual basketball player. So it looks like they're setting up for the match to happen at Revolution. Looks like it's going to be a tag team match, Shaq and Jaydee versus Cody Rhodes and Velvet Sky, since Brandy Rhodes is currently precos. So going into the AEW Awards, now I didn't check out the show, like I said. I'm only reading off who was the winners. So best moment on the mic. The winner was Cody Rhodes accepting the dog collar match. And I don't remember this off the top of my head. I felt it was good, but I thought that the MJF We Deserve Better speech would have won that one, but okay. Biggest surprise, of course, goes to Sting's AEW debut. I mean, that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing happened on for AEW. Very slow burn to Sting's first match, and I forgot to mention this last week or 2 episodes ago that Sting had challenged to face Team Taz in the ring. So now we have a tag team match of Darby Allin and Sting versus, I'm guessing, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. So, okay, you know, I know a lot of people are going to mention age and stuff like that. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I hope that his stamina is there. I hope that he's not going to try to do too much. You know, just keep things simple. People will pop for the little things. I hope that he looks good. I mean, it's a tag team match, so he can definitely hide behind, you know, Darby Allin. But, you know, I just hope he is... It seems like he is there to put people over. Which, if that's the case, I have no problem with him, you know, being in the ring. I know a lot of people bring up the age and stuff like that. But we never know. We never know. He hasn't wrestled in a while. And from, if I remember correctly, he didn't really deal with as many injuries as a lot of other wrestlers. So maybe him being in the ring will come as a pleasant surprise. Who knows? Breakout star male goes to Darby Allin, which I completely agree with. Orange Cassidy was definitely, I would say, the year before. Eddie Kingston, he's still kind of new on the roster for him to really take over Darby Allin, and so is John Silver. I'm impressed with John Silver, first off, anyway. Breakout star female goes to Hikaru Shida, which I completely agree with. It would just be nice if they used their champion a lot more versus using NWA champion. Next is Biggest Beatdown. Winner goes to the Inner Circle, jumping Orange Cassidy. I don't really agree. I think when the Dark Order attacked the Nightmare Family, if it's the one where Brody Lee had smashed Cody Rhodes' head with the title, the first design of the title, then I would say that should have won. Because that was a very strong statement, I would have to say. Let's see. High Flyer Award. The winner goes to Rey Fenix, who, of course, I agree with. I always say, every single time I talk about Rey Fenix, I always say that Rey Fenix is not a human being. He really isn't. The things that he does in the ring is crazy. Hardest moment to clean up after goes to the parking lot brawl, which I completely agree with. The parking lot brawl was one of the best matches that both teams have put on, especially the Best Friends. Santana and Ortiz, I've seen them before, and I knew what they were capable of. But the Best Friends, going through this fight, definitely put them on the map as a stronger tag team. And it's what I like, that, you know, I like it when, you know, comedic teams can come out and put out a strong performance, because you can be diverse like that, you know. Biggest WTF moment. Winner is Kenny Omega wins the AEW Championship and walks out of AEW. Which, yeah, I would give that. Because not only did with Kenny Omega winning the AEW championship was big. Him and being, Don Callis announcing that they will be going over to Impact was another moment as well. The LOL award goes to Young Bucks kicking MJF into the pool. I don't know about that one. I think the MJF and Jericho dinner should have won that one. Because it was over the top, first of all. And it was a moment that made you say WTF, but it also made you laugh as well. So I think that should have won. Best Twitter follow, Nyla Rose, definitely. Well, no, I see MJF. So no, that was wrong. It should have been MJF because MJF roasts everyone and anyone. I've seen him roast. Someone had tweeted out that their kid was upset because they wanted a Darby Allin action figure and they got his. And MJF turned around and said, well, good for him. Your son looks like a drug addict. Or something like that. I mean, he roasts people, so. Nyla Rose is a close second, though. She's pretty good on Twitter. Bleacher Report pay-per-view moment of the year goes to the Stadium Stampede, which I agree with. I agree with that. I would say Moxley winning the AEW Championship would be close, but I definitely agree with the Stadium Stampede because that match in itself had a lot of moments in itself. Let's see. And that's it for all the awards. So we have Beach Break coming off next week for AEW, and the matches for that, let me pull it up. From what I've seen, it is pretty solid. They are going to have the wedding, finally, the wedding of Penelope Cruz and Kip Sabian. But as far as matches, they have a lumberjack match for Lance Archer, Eddie Kingston. It's going to be the Tag Team Battle Royal for the AEW Tag Team Championship at Revolution. But the thing for me is the Young Bucks is in this, from what I'm seeing. So I'm a little confused by that. We also have Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, of course. And then Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Jon Moxley and the Death Triangle. And I can't wait for that match. But for that to be just a AEW Dynamite special is pretty good. So going into AEW Dynamite this week, there were a lot of people who had trouble watching the first match of Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston. Tony Khan had tweeted out how people were having problems with it, and to correct it, he went and put the full match on YouTube for everyone to check out. And I thought that was pretty cool. That was nice of him to do something like that. But from what I've seen, this was my issue with this match was that Lance Archer had told Jake the Snake to go into the back, only for Jake the Snake to be attacked by Butcher and the Blade, which caused a distraction, and of course this would eventually lead to Eddie Kingston winning the match. And so I felt as though that it wasn't like it really wasn't helpful for Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston's really good. He's good on the mic, and I think he could put a better performance in the ring. And I get that he's technically a heel, so he really shouldn't be he really shouldn't be having such a clean win, but I was hoping for a cleaner finish for that. Let's see. Then we had the Varsity Blondes versus Chris Jericho and MJF. And that was fine. I only remember, I know Griff Garrison mainly from the Being the Elite episodes with the Dark Order. And then we have Brian Pillman Jr., which I don't get him. I get that his dad is Brian Pillman, but I think he just needs to find his own identity. He has the Brian Pillman hair. He has the Brian Pillman, he has the look and everything like that. And I just really hope he's not, like, trying to copy and paste. After that, we had Cody Rhodes, who responded to Shaquille O'Neal, which was fine. I mean, AEW Dynamite was, I said it was slightly better. I mean, no, NXT was good. AEW, I don't know. I mean, they had Velvet Sky come out, and she had this, like, look on her face because Arn Anderson was mentioning how Cody Rhodes should have the fire. And if you started off with the story of how Dusty had wrestled a 30-minute Iron Man match, and then he ran out and was able to catch the birth of Cody Rhodes, and he was saying how there's a lot of time between the match with Shaq and the birth of his child, so I really didn't get the promo. I mean, I was listening to the promo while I was doing something else, so that could have been a thing, but I really wasn't getting the point of why he was mentioning the fact that his dad ran out for the birth and, like, how important the birth is, stuff like that. And it's like, you know, just the damn match is next month. I mean, Brandy announced her pregnancy very recently, unless they waited until they were like 5 months, which I highly doubt they did. So there's a good amount of time. And so Cody Rhodes or Velvet Sky, one of them mentioned for the match to happen in March, which of course is going to be for Revolution. And that would be that. Revolution is looking to be a pretty good show, though. I give them that. I just hope that Shaq goes to the school, or same wrestling school that Pat McAfee does, and not Snoop Dogg, because that's Splash. Come on, dude. Like, you're related to wrestlers. You should simply call up, Sasha Banks, or ask Sasha Banks while you were doing the song for her of how to do a splash, because what Snoop Dogg did was a disgrace, and I hope Shaq wouldn't do the same thing. I'm hoping Shaq can wrestle better than his free throws. Old school people who watch him in basketball know what I mean by that. Let's see. Then we had Hangman Page versus Ryan Nemeth, who is the brother of Dolph Ziggler. And I kind of was comparing him to Dolph Ziggler, like he doesn't sell as well as Dolph. But it felt like, I don't know, it felt like he definitely looked amateur. Because there were times where he was like kind of just standing there waiting for the spot to happen instead of making it more believable. He wasn't as good at selling as his brother, of course, but I mean, this match was mainly about Hangman Page. And then we had Matt Hardy, who was standing ringside and was applauding Hangman Page. And so he's trying to get Hangman Page on his side. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on here. I mean, we went from Broken Hardy to all the other different versions of Matt Hardy. And now we're on this recruiter, Vince McMahon type of situation going on. I don't know. I did miss Jungle Boy versus Dax, and I've heard that was a good match, so I will check that out myself. And I also missed the Shayna versus Britt Baker match as well. I did catch some of the Dark Order versus the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers. John Silver, ladies and gentlemen, he went on this he went on this crazy offense where he reminded me of Cesaro with the series of offensive moves that he was doing. Because he started out in the ring, then he was to the outside of the ring, then he went around the ring, giving people. It looked like he was giving people the uppercuts that Cesaro would do, and then he got back in the ring. It was John Silver is really good, yo. They definitely have a future star on their hands, and the Dark Order is a lot more enjoyable. Not more enjoyable, but the fact that now they're faces, we can properly cheer for them, even though it didn't really matter anyway. But John Silver is pretty good. And I'm interested on what will happen with the Dark Order now, because ironically, before Brody Lee came along, they were they weren't liked at all. I mean, I felt as though it was something missing from them, but they weren't liked at all from the fans before Brody Lee came along. Brody Lee comes along, and they, of course, become so beloved. But now that Brody is gone, I'm very curious of what's going to happen with the Dark Order. Are they going to stay face? Like, how they're going to keep things going? How they're going to keep the momentum of the popularity of the Dark Order going? So going into Raw. Raw was supposed to be the go-home show for the Royal Rumble that's coming this Sunday, and it just felt like they did a few things as far as the Royal Rumble, and that's pretty much it. Of course, they had Drew McIntyre and Goldberg going face to face. They slightly teamed up together a little bit to attack The Miz and John Morrison. The Miz, of course, still has his briefcase, so he was teasing of cashing in the Money in the Bank. So that was fine, you know, good start to the show. Of course, it's starting off with promo, typical Raw fashion. But I was fine with the show starting off like this to get one of the biggest matches heading into the Royal Rumble, to kind of give it a little bit of flavor of it. Then we had Charlotte Flair versus Shayna Baszler, which I didn't watch. I heard it was a hot mess, and then it turned into like multiple matches after that, which I didn't really care for. Like I saw the beginning of Raw, then I had to take care of something, so I missed most of the show. But I saw that Xavier Woods was going to get slapjack, and now we're getting into Ali cutting promos about the fact he is taking Kofi Kingston's spot in the Royal Rumble. Like, this is his time to shine. And I'm kind of for it. I like that. I like that this storyline is coming full circle. And so Mustafa Ali turning heel makes a little bit more sense. I don't know if it's going to go. I highly doubt it's going to go anywhere. I think Kofi. I don't know. I think Kofi is out until after WrestleMania. So this is pretty much building up the feud for when Kofi comes back. If Kofi comes back before Mania, this is probably going to be the Mania match. But from what I've heard, the Kofi Kingston is going to be out till after WrestleMania. But I love the fact that this is all coming full circle. Let's see. So I missed the Sheamus and John Morrison stuff. It just felt like it was mainly all filler. And then I saw R-Truth versus AJ Styles, and I was like, oh wow, why are we doing this? Well, it was basically a comedy bit, so I didn't really check it out. Then we had Alexa's Playground, where she kind of recapped everything that has happened, and she's very good in her role. Edge had announced that he is entering into the Royal Rumble, which I'm all for. Unfortunately, there won't be any fans this time, so we won't be able to pop. And then we get to the main event, which I had checked out. Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. My only issue with this matchup between the women is the way that Asuka is being portrayed. This is your champion. She's supposed to be a little bit more dominant. I wouldn't mind if she was basically like not really scared, but just like, what the hell is going on here type of situation. And with last week and stuff like that, of her being like straight up scared, but then she's doing her goofy ass dances the next second, it's not making. She's not. I don't feel like she's being dominant here. If this was fucking Charlotte Flair wouldn't be. They wouldn't have her scared like that, and that's my issue. They want who they want to be dominant. She's your champion. She should be a little bit more dominant in her demeanor. I'd rather for her to have been NXT Asuka. NXT Asuka, I don't think she really would have reacted like that. I think she would have been like, "What the hell's going on?" and just kind of like look like, "What the hell is this?" versus being like fully scared and then in the next second doing the goofy dance. But the match itself, of course, this is all about Alexa Bliss. I am curious as to what this third persona is, because we get the playful Alexa Bliss, where the Firefly Funhouse Alexa Bliss, I should say, and then during in the match, Alexa Bliss then appears in a rocking horse. Asuka was a little more aggressive in this matchup, which I was completely fine with. But then there was this moment where we got the original Alexa Bliss, and she's like slightly hyperventilating and looking confused and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is simply it's so many horror movies that has something like this. Basically, like, she is possessed or something like that. Very similar to in the X-Men, we have the Phoenix and Jean Grey. I think that's her name. If that's not her name, I mean, I already admitted that I'm not. I think her name is Jean Grey, but yeah, I feel like, yeah, okay, I was right. I feel like it's something like that, where we have Alexa Bliss, but there is like this entity that is taking over her that she can't really control. But it feels like there's like 3 different levels to this. So there was the original Alexa Bliss we saw, and then there is the Firefly Funhouse Alexa Bliss, and then it's that whatever the fuck that shit was that we saw for the second week in a row, where it felt like very similar to the Fiend, because after original Alexa Bliss, she's like hyperventilating and stuff like that, and Asuka goes for to attack her, and Alexa Bliss was able to dodge it. And so she goes over to the other side of the corner, and we see her like she's like dazing off to somewhere, and she stands there in the corner with her head down, and then the lights start to go down, and then we see the I don't even know what to call it, but we see like emotionalist, if that's a word. It's probably not, but I just made it up. This non-emotional Alexa Bliss who's in the corner now, and she starts like blocking and dodging attacks, stuff like that. Asuka hit her with a knee. She kind of like brushes it off. And she went for the, I guess a Dark Bliss, I should say. And she went for the Sister Abigail. And in comes Randy Orton without the mask this time. So his face is, his first degree burns isn't as drastic, I guess. The way his face looks is the way I felt Kane's face should look, especially since we kept going the storyline of him getting burnt in the fire. But we see Randy Orton, whose face still has the slight burns, and Alexa Bliss Dark Bliss slowly turns around, and Randy Orton gives her RKO, which of course is something that was definitely needed. We definitely needed to see the RKO from Alexa Bliss. Not from Alexa Bliss. We definitely needed to see the RKO on Alexa Bliss. And I'm completely fine with that. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, don't hit a woman. No, this is fucking wrestling, okay? I'm down for RKOs being thrown on people. It's happened plenty of times back in the day. I mean, fucking Mae Young went through a damn table. And they went through a power bomb through a table from the Dudleys. So I'm completely fine with it. I hope Randy Orton RKO's Nia Jax in the Royal Rumble this weekend. But the storyline called for it because she set his ass on fire. You set someone on fire, you get RKO'd. Simple as that. But definitely an interesting way for this match to end. I just want Asuka to be just a little bit more dominant. That's all. I just want her to be more dominant. Like I always say, it's not wins or losses because, as we've seen plenty of times, someone can lose a match and then in like the next 2 weeks suddenly get a title shot. So it's not about wins or losses. It's about dominance and TV time. Which, where is Aleister Black, first of all? There is the rumor that Aleister Black is gone because they're keeping him off TV because they want him to cool down from the fact that they fired his wife the way they did. So, going into NXT, NXT was, of course, the better of the shows. Of course it was. And they were continuing on with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We had MSK versus Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. First of all, MSK. They're really good, first off. Like I said, I saw them a little bit when they were the Rascals in Impact. Unfortunately, I don't watch a lot of Impact, so I really wasn't able to get the full grasp of who they were as a faction. But from what I've seen, they were pretty good. And them coming over to NXT, very good. Definitely is going to put the tag teams on the map again. They did this crazy, I guess it would be like an assisted standing moonsault. I forgot who it was standing away from, I think it was Drake Maverick that got pinned. Standing away from, at the feet of Drake Maverick, went to do the moonsault. His partner pushed him so that he landed on Drake Maverick for the pin. That was really good. I mean, it was somewhat short, but, you know, one team is definitely a better team than the other. Then we had the next matchup for the Women's Dusty Classic. We had Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Aaliyah and Jessie Cameo. Aaliyah has definitely shown a lot of improvement in the ring. I'm just still not really sure of her gimmick. Because she was pretty basic first off, and then she did this Robert Stone. No. She was basic, and then she teamed up with Vanessa Bourne, where they were like, it reminded me of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie type of situation. And then she did this the Robert Stone brand or whatever it is, and she's like still more uppity. So I don't know, but she definitely has shown a lot of improvement. I do like Jessie. She definitely looks good here. But of course, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are like no other. I mean, I thought this would be a squash match, truthfully, because people from the Robert Stone brand really aren't on the top of the hill. So it was a good match, of course. Um, so the interesting thing, right? I normally watch AEW Dynamite live versus NXT live, because NXT live I can catch in different ways. AEW, hopefully the FBI isn't listening to this part. I watch it on a stream because AEW is very, very good at catching people who are streaming on like Twitch and stuff like that and shutting it down. And so I watch it live through a stream, because what happens is the next day they'll try to post the videos on like Daily Motion or something like that, and it's like gone within 2 hours. So if I don't catch AEW the stream right then and there, I'll catch like highlights and stuff like that. But I found I was like 1 day old. I was born today because I realized that fucking NXT, Raw, and SmackDown are all on Hulu, and that's how I was able to catch a lot that's happened on Raw and NXT this week, because of Hulu. But the thing is with Hulu, it's like they take certain parts of it, because on Hulu, Raw is only like an hour, like less than 2 hours, and then for NXT it was only an hour. But you kind of catch the biggest pieces of each show without all the commercials and stuff like that. So next up, for the men's Dusty Rhodes Classic, we had Leon Ruff and Kushida versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. This was a good match. Kushida and Leon Ruff had very good offense. Of course, this is leading to Kushida getting his North American Championship title shot. Probably Leon Ruff might get thrown in there. And then we see Dexter Lumis, who is, just standing around as well. So I don't know if this is going to turn into a triple threat or a fatal four-way or something like that, between everyone going after the NXT Championship. I don't know. At some point, we had another vignette with Scarlett, and I love these vignettes of her when she's like cutting little promos, and as she's cutting the promo, she's using tarot cards to kind of tell the story as well, which I think is pretty neat. But it seems like we're going after Finn Balor once more, so I'm completely fine with that. Toni Storm calling out Io Shirai, and then we got Mercedes Martinez, who jumped in as well. So it looks like we are going to get a triple threat match, maybe, or maybe a match between Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez, and then who will then winner of that would probably face Io Shirai. Let's see. And then we had the tag team match, Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly versus Lorcan and Birch, which was a pretty good match. Of course, Balor and O'Reilly won the match. They kept mentioning how Kyle O'Reilly is medically cleared for the match because his injury wasn't the same as Finn Balor. It was just I think they were saying like an adjustment or something like that. But after the match, we had Pete Dunne, who then ran in, of course, started attacking, and then we had Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, who came out as well, and then all four of them kind of stood in the ring. I'm ready for Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. I think that's going to be a fun-ass match to check out. So, going into the Royal Rumble, if you haven't been following on the social networks, the podcast has been tweeting out wrestling facts throughout the week on Instagram, Facebook, and the podcast Twitter as well. I'm also going to be doing a special episode. It will not be live, but it'll be released this weekend before the Royal Rumble, of my review of different Royal Rumble matches and the actual Royal Rumble, some championship matches, some actual Royal Rumble matches as well. I reviewed different matches between 1988 and 2003, which covered 15 years. Some were suggested by people on social media. Some I had picked out, and some I had picked as far as what was considered either the best of or the worst of. So be on the lookout for that as well. So going into the match, once again, the card doesn't look actually completed, but of course we have the Women's Royal Rumble. And as far as the Women's Royal Rumble, of course this is going to have a lot of returning legends, a lot of returning legends, a lot of surprises that's coming that way. My guess of who will win this match, I'm going to say Bianca Belair, because I would like to see Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. Bianca Belair had mentioned before that she wants to face Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, and I agree with her. Give me that matchup any day, especially the promos and stuff leading to it. Like I said, Belair isn't as good on the mic, but that's fine. I think there is a way that, it can work. It definitely can work. We also have the men's as well. So there is a rumor that there is a finish to the men's Royal Rumble that's being heavily considered, but apparently I forgot the exact wording of how it was described, but it's going to be something, I think they said deadly consequence or something like that, or a deadly something like that, but it's definitely something that the fans aren't going to like, which means it's more likely going to be a part-timer. So there is a theory that Goldberg will enter the Royal Rumble and then win that, which I kind of doubt. I doubt that's going to happen. If that happens, my goodness, Twitter is going to explode. But WWE is very famous for having, part-timers come around. The latest rumor I heard was that they don't really have anybody to, as far as who's going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. As far as surprises, I think Jimmy is going to return. I think Jey Uso's in this matchup. I think Jimmy Uso is going to return. I know a lot of people are hoping for Daniel Bryan, so that it could be Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. That would be cool. I can imagine the build-up leading up to that fight. That could be a very interesting build-up. Of course, people throwing The Rock's name in there. I thought about The Rock too, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's very possible because he has the TV show coming out. He could definitely use WWE to promote that TV show. People are thinking it could be Edge, kind of like a feel good moment, or a coming full circle as far as getting his WrestleMania shot. I don't really see that happening, and so who are we left with? Who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble? I'm going to say it here. There are going to be people who are going to be upset. I might lose a follower or two on social media. I don't know. But I think it's going to be Brock Lesnar. Because why fucking not? Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. I'm going to put it down. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. I would love for Daniel Bryan to win this match. I would love for Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble. But this is WrestleMania weekend, and we all know whenever it's WrestleMania weekend, there's always going to be a part-timer involved, because that's what we do. So the next matchup that was announced was the Women's Tag Team Championship, Asuka and Charlotte Flair versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I'm gonna go with Baszler and Nia Jax here. I think Flair and Asuka losing the title is what's going to set off the feud between them two. Because, of course, it seems like Charlotte only joined Asuka's team just so she can be closer to them titles, because she has to eventually beat her dad as far as how many times you win the championship. We all know it's coming. It wasn't Cena. And that name's been floating around too, for John Cena to come back and win the Royal Rumble. Then again, it would be so cool to see the Tribal Chief defeat John Cena at WrestleMania. But it'll be a waste. But I can definitely see that happening. But I don't think it's going to happen. Because John Cena got a lot going on. But I think this is going to lead to the matchup between Charlotte Flair and Asuka. Because they don't know what to do with Asuka, except for get afraid of Alexa Bliss. Maybe The Fiend will come back in the Royal Rumble. His name was tossed around as well. And so we come across to the title matches. We got KO and the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns for the Last Man Standing match for Universal Championship. Of course, I'm going to go with the Tribal Chief. Because he's at the head of the table. And if you're sitting at the head of the table, no one can touch you. This is all a matter of not if Roman Reigns wins. It's how long is he going to put KO in the island of relevancy. How long is this match going to last? I know that this is going to be a brutal match anyway, because it's KO. It's Roman Reigns. I'm definitely fine with the Tribal Chief winning this matchup and keeping it going, because I think it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And I feel like it's going to be that way because of Paul Heyman. It's going to put Paul Heyman in a very weird spot, because he's the advocate for, the Beast, and he is also the advocate for the Tribal Chief. Maybe it'll be Paul Heyman on a pole match type of situation. That's just a joke, but yeah, I think that would be an interesting way to do the feud. I know we've done the fight a lot of times, but this is a slightly different angle. This is the Tribal Chief here with Paul Heyman in his ear. And then, of course, we come to the match that we all have been waiting for. The match that everyone is dying to see. The match that, we all know. It happens once a year. It's Goldberg. It's Goldberg, and you know what that means. You know that he is winning that title. Drew McIntyre and Goldberg for the WWE Championship. And I hope everyone is prepared. Get your Tylenol ready, because everyone's going to have headaches. Everyone's going to be so upset that you're going to give yourself a headache. Get whatever type of alcohol you need to deal with this. Get, whoever has whoever can give you the best hugs, because you're going to need it. Because we know that Goldberg is going to win that title. And if Goldberg doesn't win the title, then yeah, maybe it is that theory that he's going to enter into the Royal Rumble just to get 2 title shots in, 3 months? But I think the title is going to win. Shout out to Clark Street Wrestling. They're the ones who mentioned this little stat. But if Goldberg wins the WWE Championship, he will be the first person in history to hold the 3 major titles, which is the Universal, the WWE Championship, and I think it was the World Heavyweight Championship from back in the day. So we got that hanging over his head. It's WrestleMania season. He normally likes to rock around with the title during WrestleMania season. And I feel as though that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to see it. I'm sorry to tell you guys. That is what we're going to see. So we got SmackDown coming up. Going with last week, we had Roman Reigns calling Adam Pearce a puss. Saying that, he's a puss because he faked an injury and then said card is subject to change. He said that's loser mentality. He said, he has pains. His side hurts. His ankle has been hurting. And he said his back hurts for carrying the company for so many years. And I saw that comment, but it was still funny to hear that. And then, of course, Adam Pearce comes out to defend himself. And here comes Paul Heyman. Sat there and said, don't you know I'm from New York? I will whoop your ass for my tribal chief. And I said, there you go. That's it, Paul Heyman. You tell Adam Pearce, we will whoop someone's ass for the tribal chief. This leads to Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, of course, thinking that this was all the plan for Roman Reigns to say that card is subject to change. Roman Reigns was like, I told you to talk. I told you to defend yourself as a man. Whatever you did is on you. And Paul Heyman had this look like, what? I gotta fight? It reminded me of, when you're in elementary school and someone steps to you and someone tells you you should defend yourself. And you get hyped because you thought you get back up. And so you sitting there like, yeah, I'll see you in the schoolyard after school, 3:00. And then you find out that your so-called friend leaves the school early, talking about they sick. It's not based on a true story, I swear. It's not based on a true story, but it sounds like it is. But I feel as though that's almost what happened to Paul Heyman. Of course, especially when they said that Roman Reigns left the building, I'm like, damn, really left Paul Heyman there by himself. But of course, Roman Reigns comes out. He starts attacking Adam Pearce. This leads to KO coming out and, all setting up the showdown between the two men for the last man standing. We also had the obstacle course with Bayley and Bianca Belair. Of course, Bayley goes first. And she finishes like 1:10, and then because Bianca Belair, she kind of upped the ante. And there was a part where you have to, you had to carry Chad Gable for a certain amount of steps. And for Bianca Belair, it was actually Otis. And so I was like, oh wow, she got to lift up Otis. Don't you know that girl lifted up Otis like he was Marco's stunt? I was like, yo, I'm sitting here like, I gotta put down these chips and start doing squats or something. Like, people, she out here making Otis look like a slab of butter. Just lifted him up with ease and was able to walk with the man on her back. I'm Like, goodness gracious. Someone give her a Royal Rumble win. But coming up for SmackDown, we're going to see the continuation with KO and the Tribal Chief. We'll see more of what's happening with Bayley and Bianca Belair as well. I really didn't get a chance to see what the supposed previews are for SmackDown, so I'm not exactly sure what the matches are just yet. But that's it. That's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give some shout out. Shout out to Julian Rob Bates for Wrestling Court Podcast on TurtleMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin and Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling as well. So coming up, there's going to be a special episode. It will not be live. It's going to be a review of past Royal Rumble matches and championship matches as well. I may come out with a live episode on Tuesday of a full recap of the Royal Rumble. Since there's a lot that goes on with the Royal Rumble, if I combine it with just a regular show, it may go on forever. So I think I may come out with a special episode for the Royal Rumble on Tuesday. Be on the lookout for on social media as to what time. More likely it will be 9 o'clock. But be sure to follow me on Twitter at Jaydee Talks. That's Jayde Talks. You can follow the podcast at Wrestlebread as well. You can find the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you listen to the podcast. There are links that you will find that will have all the links to everything that I have said as well. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to leave a review. Episode 100 will be coming soon. Like I said before, I will be doing a AMA more likely for that episode. So be on the lookout for on social media of when I'll make the announcements as well. And until next time, guys, peace.